maybe I'll update Wikipedia because it doesn't say who actually hit the cowbell on the
Well,
record. I
there's
just looked at it before we
yeah, I
spoke.
know it's the producer David Lucas. I don't know if you've seen the SNL
Hmm.
episode on Peacock.
Hmm.
They did a whole hour on the cowbell. If you haven't seen that episode, go look it up. I
Wait,
think it
there's
was
an episode of the skit you're talking
there's
about.
a
They
whole episode of the skit. It's
Okay, that
it's
I
one of
haven't
those
seen.
things where it's retrospective and goes back and the first year what happened, and then the cowbell, and then the year it wasn't so good, and then how it goes on today, how it's built.
That's so
Uh,
funny. I
yeah.
only I it's funny because I was just watching the skit because I hadn't watched it in a long time. And
It
it's because
holds
when I
up.
read about the raffle and stuff, I was going to ask you this, and I guess this will be the jumping off point because you're already a famous musician, established, and then all these years later, this skit comes around, and I'm of the age where I'm sure I
Oh
watched it
yeah.
live. I probably watched it live, but now all these years later, I mean, or do you think it's? I mean, you've obviously embraced it.
Oh
Obviously,
yeah.
it's
Well,
added this other chapter to your already storied career. So, is that how you
we
feel?
started in the 70s, basically started in the 70s, and the 80s were good to us too, but the 90s kind of not so big. And then in 2000 was the year that thing came out on Saturday Night Live. People have not stopped talking about it since 2000. That's 25 years of cowbell.
Right?
You can't make this stuff up. You know,
I
we
I
you
know.
know we were just what I thought was recording our really our best song, and we had to make it. I mean, we had to make it work. And we had the production team. We were recording at the record plant in New York, and I'm sitting on the couch, and the producer David Lucas says, Albert, we need some cowbell on this. Just straight ahead, nothing. I'm sitting on the couch. Don't screw this up. I'm sitting looking through the glass. And he did it perfect. Perfect in one take. One take, perfect. And I could feel my whole body, all my muscles going, good. And then I came back a couple of weeks later when they had it mixed, and oh my God, I was just blown away. We you know you're we were lucky to be in a band to begin with, but to have a weird band like us come up with a monster hit like that, it was.
Yeah.
Well, we had Godzilla, and we had Burning for You, and
Hmm.
some other really good songs. I wrote a song that Metallica covered on their album. Well, when you get a Metallica cover, that's pretty darn good. But Reaper's the one. Reaper's the one that just broke it open. But that was in '76, so it wasn't until 2000 that
Right.
they somehow, in the twisted mind of of Will Ferrell, and that's in there too. How he had shelved it. It was supposed to be Norm Macdonald. Norm Macdonald was supposed to be the host,
You know what? I didn't know
but
that
what?
either.
And he just stuck it in a he stuck the script in a drawer, and then the next time when Christopher Walken was there, he pulls out the script and said, and yeah, yeah, and then it just worked, and it's all about overcoming adversity and how the parts are how the whole is greater than the parts, so it all comes together. And that was kind of like how this episode of the cowbell ends. It's with Will Ferrell and my brother sort of agreeing on this thing, because Albert's in there for about 15 minutes of this hour long
I don't know how this has passed me
documentary.
by, but I
Oh,
okay.
go look at it. It's well worth it.
Well, again, just the skit itself,
Yeah.
because I've been an SNL fan since I was able to stay up late at
Yeah.
night, and then being a Long Islander, being a rock fan. I'm like,
Sure.
and then just and have it become a pop
Oh yeah,
culture thing
all
is
the bands that played on there,
so cool.
they never asked us. It was weird. Never
That
did.
is,
I don't know. Maybe the timing just wasn't right. And also, to be honest, our manager did not want us on any kind of live TV. We were a live act, but not for TV.
mm,
We were.
that's a different
Yeah, it's a
monster to do
different.
it.
Yeah, it's a different. It's a whole different animal. A lot of people pull it off. Some people don't. So, rather than that, and we grew up in the live era of music. You couldn't get it. There was no MTV. It was just like
Well, now there's no MTV if you
there
want to
was
make that
Ed
argument.
Sullivan. There was Ed
Right.
Sullivan show.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was kind of stiff, and so yeah, and
Well, I mean, the
things
fact
worked
that
out. Things worked out.
things worked out.